is create a new file for string parsing.
A new file for string parsing. Which folder? Rules?
Under rules, just next to array parsing, string parsing. We'll do our usual header business, which you could probably copy paste from array parsing. So that file, string parsing, and this file is enormous. It's like 3,000 lines of code long. Later on, like not in training 2, but like training 6 or 7. So we might not get to that point. We might just roll you over and say, oh, okay, let's just go, you know. But just to let you know, I think it's actually probably it's under consideration for being broken up, and it's actually already been broken up because we moved like half of it over to array parsing. So it was closer to 5,000 lines of code.
Wow.
And then it broke up into array parsing, and the stuff that was relevant for strings kept in strings. But I think it's relevant to consider breaking it up further. And that just makes sense, and I'd support that if we can figure out a way of doing it right. Module string parsing and description contains all system-defined business rules for parsing strings, comma, with values of all kinds and various parsing operations. Okay, that requires module configurator. That requires module array parsing, and that requires module data, and then the last 3 is the same stuff. We can just copy paste the path, name, author, date, and copyright. And this is the 26th date, and that's a good start. And next, let configurator people require.
Is that really the fan? Is that loud?
Yeah, it is. I apologize for the screaming, ripping, roaring noise down.
No, I thought I was losing my hearing because I hear.
It is. It's this fan down here on this tower below me.
What do you have it running
on? What's that? It's air cooler right now for the CPU.
Oh, true.
Let array parsing equals require array parsing, and let b equal require data. And then the last 3 is the usual path, blah blah blah, base file name, prefix stuff. Export const, and this one you're going to recognize right away because this is the first one we needed. Parse system root path. You remember that from early on, right? Function, input data, input metadata, and there's a header for this. Oh boy, that header is a little bit much. Okay, well, we'll just have to try to get through it here. I can copy paste some of it, I suppose. At function, parse system root path, at description, parses the root path as returned. Path.resolve underscore underscore dir name okay, this business will look for the app name part of the path and will parse that out to determine where hard drive this app name folder is installed at. Okay, oops, installed. And then there's this, which is the string, and this is also a string. And this is a string. Okay, now this should say the root path as. Oops, I forgot here. I apologize. There's a note. That note. The app name is derived from the configuration settings called application name, which should have been set by the system when it was loaded. And then this one, the input data, the root path as defined by calling input metadata is the name of the application, and what we're going to return is a string with the path up to the application folder, comma, new line, wherever that is installed on the local system currently executing. And the author, date, 01/26. Okay, so next we need to I'm just going back to array parsing, and I'm going to take the relevant bits out of here, like this let return data, and this all the way up to the let function with the console begin and the input data and input metadata. And I'm going to copy that and I'll drop it in this array parse system root path. And that parse system root path, that needs to go down here. Then we need the stuff from the bottom, which is these last 3 lines. We need to put them right here on the end. The rest of this, I think, can come out of the warden. We could check. Let's check the warden. Parse system root path. Yeah, here it is. Literally, we can copy paste everything between these 2 ampersands that we had done. And we might
That's from the previous, right?
Warden. Yeah. I'm just going to copy paste that. And I'll come back and edit warden. Yeah, there's that parse system root path. Remember, very early on, this was one of the first things we did.
Okay.
We got to copy that, and I'll leave it here, but I'm going to come back and I'll clean this up. And now that goes to string parsing, parse system root path. So we can paste that right into here. But it's not completely right. There's a little bit more we have to do. We need to say if input data. Okay. And I'm going to drop in my end if here. And now everything that you copy pasted actually needs to go inside that if input data. So all of this needs to go inside there. And I'm going to bump this back out because it doesn't belong that close. And this one too, all the way to the left. Now, there's some stuff that has to change. First of all, we can't set this from config data because there is no config data at this point. So we need to change that and put it to input metadata. And I'm going to put a note here that says rename it for readability. Because otherwise, I mean, I could just use input metadata, but this makes it a little easier to self-document. Now, all of this stuff I think can go. Process, path to process. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because that's just getting stuff and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then instead of path to process.split, it's going to be input data.split. And that'll be our path elements. Now this console log, I think that can just go away. It should be fine. We'll leave the loop 1, elements, length, plus, all that's the same. But I'm going to put some new console logs in here. Console.log begin iteration I, and this should actually be backticks, sorry. Backticks. And it's $ curly brace I. So just documenting path elements, that's fine. And now console.log backtick path element is curly brace $path element. We leave that there. Okay, I'm going to do a console.log. This can be a regular quote, case I equals 0. Okay. The else is correct. There's another console log here. Backtick case path element equals $curly application. And we got the break loop 1 else console.log case else. And 4. So over here in the warden, we need this rule broker so that we can actually call our rules. So brokers, rule broker. Just going to clean up this mess in the. And don't forget to add this up to the requires, up in the header. Add requires module rule broker. And come down here and clean up this mess, which everything between and including these ampersands can all go away. Oops. Ampersand stuff. That's all going to go away. So we're left with everything, including the ampersands, all that's going to go. We've got the console log, which is fine. Say let rules equal. And I think, I suppose that would be fine, square bracket. Rules 0 equal parse system root path, because that's the name of the rule we want to call. And then we call rule broker dot scrap business rules. We need to boot some rules so that we can actually call them. Just sort of like housekeeping. Application name equal config data application name. Let path to process equal config data say let resolved path equal rule broker dot process rules, which we wrote a few days ago, and then we pass it path to process application name and the rules. The last piece is let root path is path.resolve, which we've already got. That's the last line. And now that process root path function in the warden should be cleaned. So that is what we need. We have been waiting a long time to get the business rules in place so that we could actually replace the logic function. And this is that first where you start to get a feel for what the business rules can do. Yeah, so that's the first piece. String parsing business rules. We'll come back to this and we'll implement the other 10, 11, 12, 13 functions. It's about 500 lines of code.
Oh, wow.
And that is the absolute minimum. Most of this will actually be refactored into another file later. What I did was, because there was dependencies, there was circular dependencies with the console loggers. It didn't like it, so I refactored it into another rules file called string parsing utilities. So we'll do that as well. But that's a ways away. I think that's like training branch 4 or 5 or something like that. But yeah, there's quite a bit more, and we'll implement that, and then we'll have a basic system up and running.
All right, for sure. Yeah, it sounds interesting for sure.